Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Josh Warrington, Mauricio Lara 2 is set to go down in September at Headingley, which is the rugby stadium for Leeds Rhinos, I believe. I think that's a Super League team. So 20,000 fans in attendance, rematch of their first fight, which happened back in February. And I don't think this is a good idea for Josh Warrington. At the end of the day, I still struggle to comprehend why Josh Warrington and Eddie Hearn felt it was a good idea to give up the IBF title rather than go through with a mandatory defence against Kid Galahad. Yes, the first fight was a stinker, but irrespective, at least Josh Warrington got the win. At least he knows what to expect. At least he could improve on that. So why on earth he gave up that title in order to fight an unknown Mexican puncher? And bear in mind, Josh Warrington, in terms of punchers, hasn't really fought many. I mean, you would say, if you just think of his resume, the two biggest punchers would probably be Carl Frampton and Kid Galahad. Would they be, elite level punchers? Was certainly not as far as I've seen. No, they wouldn't. So to go in there with someone who, he's crude, Mauricio Lara, he's, not that much experience. Well, he's experienced enough as a pro, but he didn't have much of a background. But he's a noted big puncher. I mean, Emmanuel Navarrete said his power is legit. Navarrete, he's been in there with some punchers, and Navarrete is probably the best featherweight in the world right now. So for me, that made no sense whatsoever. And the fact of the matter is, right, was that a 10 or 12 rounder? I'm not sure. I think it was a 12 rounder. The fact of the matter is, you took that fight with no other incentive. There was no major title on the line. There was no even regional title on the line. And you really weren't going to gain anything from it. So for me, the matchmaking with regards to the whole situation is just such a head scratcher. It really is. I just can't comprehend. Even now, I just look back and I just think that was such a, I can kind of see maybe what they were doing, in a sense they were thinking to get the Kanzu fight over the line for the WBA. But even still, it's just, it was a bad state of affairs, the matchmaking. Now we're in a situation where Warrington is going to have a rematch in Headingley. Katie Taylor's going to be on the card, as well as Maxime Hughes versus the guy whose name escapes me, Straffon or something his name is. He knocked out James Tennyson in the round. Maxime Hughes is a hell of a lot better than James Tennyson. He's not the puncher James Tennyson is, but he's a hell of a lot more talented than James Tennyson. No offence to Tennyson, but he's no defence and he likes getting involved too much. So, Warrington, Lara. I can't see anything other than a Lara win. I do take into consideration that the fans will be there, and Josh Warrington does strike me as the sort of fighter he draws on that crowd. He draws on the energy. Was it Ellen Road where he fought Lee Selby? Now I remember, I wasn't doing videos at the time, but I remember at the time, because I never rated Lee Selby. I've said that time and time again, I've never rated him. I thought Warrington should be able to beat Selby. Be close, but he should be able to beat him. But that fight was easy for Josh Warrington, right? It was easy. He battered Lee Selby from pillar to post, and I think that the crowd, you could see him feeding off the crowd. You could see whenever he kind of rocked Lee Selby or stunned him a bit or was having moments, the fans were just uplifting him, and you could see he was thriving off that. So Warrington, with the fans in attendance, I believe it will bring that extra couple of percent. Saying that, I don't think it'll be enough. I think stylistically, Lara is all wrong for Josh Warrington. I mean, Josh Warrington is a volume puncher, right? That's what he is. He likes to stay in the pocket. He likes to get his shots off. He likes to have a trade, knowing that, he's got the better volume. He's got, short, crisp shots. Not much power on them, but enough to get your respect. Lara, in that first fight, didn't respect any of Warrington's power. I think it was the 7th round where Warrington landed. I remember this well, because at this point it was pretty clear what was going to happen, but I think it was the 7th round, Warrington landed a hook. He landed a left hook on Lara, and it was like the hook landed and he just kind of shook his head, not as a nod, but kind of just shook it off, and then came back punching. So for me, Lara showed that there's not really, in terms of the punching power, that he's to fear from Josh Warrington. And if you're a volume puncher and you're throwing 4 or 5 punches in an exchange, but you're getting clipped with 2 of his shots and they're having major impact on you, they might not be dropping you, but they're bashing you up, they're leaving you with cuts, bruises, and you're getting hurt. For me, you're going to need a completely different game plan. Now, Warrington has talked about boxing in this fight, staying on the back foot, moving around the ring. Two things. One, will the fans let him away with that? I know in some cases they will, but what if the fans start kind of booing a bit? What if Josh Warrington does do that and he's having success, but it's very lackluster? You've Lara plodding forward, not able to land. Josh Warrington just throwing little shots here and there. Is that what the fans want? And would Josh Warrington, bite into that and just say, do you know what, they're starting to boo, I'm going to exchange? Another thing I think of is, although Josh Warrington can box, he definitely can, he hadn't got anything to keep Lara off with when they were exchanging. What's he going to keep Lara off with in this fight? Like, it's not going to change remarkably. Josh Warrington's not a devastating puncher. He's just not. So, for me, Lara will probably be on him like White is to Rice. Seriously, and I just can't say. Unless Josh Warrington boxes a punch-perfect fight, where he's on the back foot, he's moving. This is a 12-rounder, I think it is. And he just was able to almost do a Kid Galahad. Just try your best to nick these rounds, build up the points, and get a decision. He could try that. Will the fans let him away with that? I don't know. But for me, this rematch has trouble written all over it for Josh Warrington. It really does. Lara, you see, these Mexicans, right? Not just Mexicans, the South Americans in general. They are taught from an early age how to punch properly, how to punch hard. They don't have a lot of amateur fights. They learn in the pro games. So they are able to adapt their style to the pros. They're able to punch with a lot more authority very early on. If you've ever gone into a boxing gym, whether it be Ireland or in the UK, they're very similar, right? They have a one-size-fits-all method of training, certainly at least in the gyms I've seen, where they tell you to focus on quantity as opposed to quality. And in some gyms I've been in, back years ago now, if you were really trying to crack the bag hard and really get maximum power, like work on your uppercut, work on your hooks, or just kind of, throw punches in a hard fashion, trying to get maximum velocity, they would stop you and say, oh, we don't do that here. No. If you're going to hit the bag, you're going to want to be throwing loads of punches. At the end of the day, that's muscle memory. Your muscles know how to punch hard. When you're doing them drills and training, you instantly know how to rotate your hips, how to get maximum extension in your shots, how to get maximum power in it. So for Lara, he has that. He knows that. For Warrington, I would imagine that since early on, even as an amateur, he's gone the kind of route of, this is how we do it here in the UK, this is how we do it here in Ireland. As an amateur, you throw these punches, you do them in this fashion, and that's it. I remember David Hay used to talk about when he was in Fitzroy Lodge, that he used to have constant rows with, I forget who the head coach was, but he used to say he had rows with him because David Hay was always trying to punch hard. He was always trying to work on power punching, and they didn't want that. They wanted him to fight the typical amateur style. At the end of the day, there is no one size fits all. For me personally, I remember when it was the second amateur gym I was ever in, they were big into, almost Lomachenko kind of style. Not necessarily but they were into movements and just little pitter-patter punches. And I did not like doing that. Didn't like it, didn't suit me at all. Then when I went into another gym, they were more focused on power punches, really developing uppercuts, and that just suited me down to the ground. I loved that. It was much easier to do. It was much more satisfying to do. And that's the one thing I say about kind of amateurs, that they don't train them to punch hard. They train them just to throw a lot of punches and pick up the point. That is how amateur boxing is, to be fair. But it's handy if they're planning to turn pro that you season them a little bit to get used to it. That's what I would do anyway if I was training a fighter or training an amateur. I'd want them to obviously fight like an amateur, but I want to incorporate little elements of the pro game in there just in case they ever decided. At least then they're not like a fish out of water like Paddy Barnes was when he turned pro and he didn't have a clue what to do. So that's my thoughts on that. Look, we're going to see fans, which is good. The first fight was very entertaining, it has to be said. Interestingly enough, one thing I said about the first fight at the time, and they still haven't seen them, is what were the scorecards like for that fight? Because Sky made it out that Lara was having success in the rounds he was hurting Warrington, but the rest of the fight Warrington was winning, or certainly doing the better work. I'd love to know what the scorecards read for that fight, because we still haven't seen them. I wonder if Warrington was ahead in that fight. No, he shouldn't have been, but we know the way scorecards in the UK have been over the years. So that's my thoughts on this. At the end of the day, Warrington is trying to he's trying to avenge that loss. If he loses this rematch, it really is no man's land for Josh Warrington, I believe anyway. If he wins, they'll probably target the Lee Wood Kanzu winner, I would imagine, because I don't think Eddie Hearn's going to want to go down the Kid Galahad road if Kid Galahad beats Jezza Dickens. So I'd imagine that's what's likely to happen if Warrington wins. It's a big ask because Lara is good, he is useful, and his style is going to be a problem for Warrington. That's my thoughts on this. Leave it here. Let me know what your thoughts in the comment section are below. You, like me, think that this is a red flag, and do you, like me, agree that the fact that he vacated that title in the first place and went this road as opposed to just taking the Kid Galahad fight was a complete mistake? Let me know in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, smash that little like button you see there on top of the screen. You know, just takes a second. You know, literally. You could have subscribed there. So if you could do that, really appreciate it. Helps your boy out. Hashtag GMAS rocks, all that good stuff. For now, lads and lasses, I'll talk to you. Peace.